Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 5 stories for you from your favorite, the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Woolen Goose. Complied so much on a test, it stopped evil boss from profiling employees. Had an evil middle manager boss who eventually lost 1/3 of the team in under 3 months. I had been there longer than him before his position was built out. He was a really gross one, like psychological abuse, and also openly commented on a 16-year-old celebrity being hot when he was 36. Anyway, when he was onboarded, he pretty quickly assessed which employees he couldn't bully and started trying to make our lives harder. He started doing some anonymous reviews and tests. Not surprisingly, some anonymous feedback was super negative for the people on his crap list, even if we were high-performing or project leads. I finally had enough of attempting to talk it out head-on. He always denied everything, and even once actually asked me if I was on drugs, WTF, during a one-on-one. This was and is a hugely famous tech company. Anyway, he decided it was time for another round of anonymous testing, this time a personality test. I answered every question, imagining I was him. Every single one. To nobody's surprise, he was like, "Surprise! We're gonna reveal and see which result we have on the screen now, yay!" I matched him perfectly, the only one. He got the absolute psychopath result, but it also says like, entrepreneur and celebrity, so he would have been thrilled, but he knew we were very different, yet somehow we had the exact same result, out of 20 plus possibilities. When he pulled up the result on screen, his face dropped. He stared directly at me, immediately breaking the character who was excited for sharing the secret results. I watched him choke down his anger as he pretended to go down the list, now unprepared. Every other sentence out of his mouth suddenly was how unreliable these tests can be, and you never know. As he dug his hole deeper, explaining backwards regarding this time-wasting, team-wide meeting for his stupid exercise, originally intended to single out some folks based upon a personality test, I finally found my opportunity. I smiled at him. I smiled with eye contact. No words, everything was said there. I watched him die inside, and he still had to fill 25 minutes of his stupid meeting or call it off. I have another malicious compliance story about him. He was an absolute clown. I bet I have more if I think harder, but this is my fave quiet little moment where I ruined his total concept of self in 1 second by doing exactly what he asked of me. Waste my time to take his stupid personality test. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a username that I can't read without getting cancelled on YouTube. It says, "Even better if you told all your coworkers to answer the questions in the same way. Results would have varied slightly, but most of you would have matched it perfectly. Laugh out loud." I've done supposedly anonymous opinions in call centers before, where I got called out afterwards for what I said, so they're definitely not anonymous in most cases. I think the boss here was just trying to prove that they were one of the superior personalities, and everybody here who didn't have a favorable personality could be on the chopping block. OP did a great job of putting the boss man into his place. This story comes to us from Cryptographer Medical. I know you. Many years ago, worked full-time at a big superstore on checkouts. I also volunteered in a local civil protection light rescue unit. We did some training with fire service, exercises with Red Cross, etc. I dated a female police officer for a bit, so knew few local police officers, a fair few of local fire service, ambulance, etc. One of the rules was no serving friends and family. If they came to the till, press buzzer and wait for manager. One manager and I never got on. I served one of the local officers I knew, Paul. Manager straight on my back about serving friends. I explained, no, not good enough. Got a severe telling off from that manager. even demanded to know if I knew a regular customer just because I said, "Hi Sandra, hi Laura," and they greeted me by name. Got a telling off for that one. So I deliberately asked anyone I know I buzz for manager. I then had a couple of days off, including training night, so I discreetly told a few rescue unit members that when they came in to ignore what I told them before. I wanted them to deliberately come through my checkout. Messaged my mate at a local fire station, messaged my ex, the police officer, to pass word out, and passed message to someone I knew at the local Red Cross, etc. Next 2 evenings, Thursday and Friday, which were always busy, it was carnage. Buzz. This is Heather, local police officer I know through the rescue unit. Buzz. This is Alan, local Red Cross. I know him through unit. Buzz. This is Rick, he's in rescue unit. Buzz. This is Sally, local paramedic. Buzz. This is Di, county council emergency planning. Know him through the rescue unit. Buzz. This is Glenn, firefighter from ABC station. Know through the rescue unit. Buzz. This is Frank, paramedic. Know from the rescue unit. Buzz. This is Tony, firefighter from XYZ station. Know him through the rescue unit. Buzz. This is Ben, local police officer I know through the rescue unit. Buzz. This is Julie from the rescue unit. Buzz. This is Alan, local police inspector I know through the rescue unit. Pulled aside by my manager, who I got on with on Friday, about 8 p.m. on my way to my break, and told, "You can stop buzzing for people you know from rescue unit stuff. Just buzz for family or close friends. We'll let you use your discretion." Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called PN Gwyn. It says, "It's fun how quickly problems get solved once they start to inconvenience management." OP responded and said, "I think it gets solved when you make it their problem." Another commenter called GreenPill98 said, "This is some good malicious compliance. Deserved, compliant, to the letter, and involves a group effort. I love that all your friends did their part. It was probably a minor inconvenience for them, but I would love to be a part of something like that." OP responded to this one and said, "Yeah, it was fun. Weirdly, after this incident, no one bothered me with silly rules. Blue light family, especially police, were pissed off at being treated at a default of untrusted, so I think they kind of enjoyed it too." OP, you could have had a little bit of fun with this one beyond just the rescue people. You could have had some friends or maybe friends' parents come through, dressed in suits with glasses, and you could have been like, "Buzz, this is Fat Tony from the docks. I know him from, well, I just know him." This story comes to us from Stardust Rose 9449. You want to review every single candidate? You got it, babe. This is the best time that my warnings went unheeded and made the client regret ever asking. I worked in recruitment for 9 years, and a few years back I had a new client, hiring manager, and she didn't like abiding by the rules set up for the recruitment team. For one thing, we reviewed the applicants, interview the best qualified candidates, and then submitted them to the hiring manager for consideration. Well, this hiring manager couldn't understand why we only sent over 3 candidates in a week. Honestly, she's lucky, as some positions did not garner that many applicants. I explained that we submit 3 candidates for every 1 position available. This ensures that the hiring manager's time was considered when scheduling next step interviews. This wasn't just a standard I set, it was approved by her company's TA bosses, and frankly, was standard at another place I used to work as well. Hiring manager said, "That is absurd. I want to review all of the candidates so I can tell you whom to pre-screen, and then you schedule their interview with me based on my availability." But ma'am, you have almost 100 applicants that met your minimum qualifications. I don't think you really want to devote that much time to reviewing all of these resumes. And honestly, some of them were not great. Are you not listening? Send them all over to me and I'll take care of it. Yes, ma'am, you got it. I'll send those over right away. I wrote an email to the hiring manager immediately after the call, restating the topics discussed by phone, and asked again if she was certain she wanted all of the candidates sent to her. She confirmed. I complied and forwarded to my boss with an explanation that she will take care of reviewing all applicants, and my numbers were going to be skewed for the month. I did as requested, selecting nearly 100 candidates in the system and moved them to hiring manager review. Now, what this did was send individual emails for each candidate as an update to the hiring manager, and it would ping her email every 3 days that they weren't reviewed. I smirked, knowing what was going to happen, and my rear was going to get chewed out in about a week. But it felt really good because I knew I was right. 2 days later, my boss calls and says he got an irritating phone call from this hiring manager who said she never requested this, to which they responded with the information detailed in my email. She was speechless. He let her know that I would go back into the system and back up the candidate process so it would be taken out of her to-do list, and I would continue to send over candidates that were the best fit for the role as described in our processes. I never received pushback from that hiring manager ever again. Does anybody else think that OP should have just sent all of these candidates over to the hiring manager and then taken off for vacation for about a week? It makes me wonder when somebody sends an email outlining exactly what they want and then they try to deny their own statements, what exactly is going on in their heads at that point? Do they think they're going to get away with that lie? I just don't get it. This story comes to us from Stranded Covidiot, Denial of Service. You got it. So I work in cybersecurity. One point, I worked for a managed security services provider or outsourced cybersecurity. Had a manager who was surrounded by yes men who worshipped him as awesome, which based on some stuff he showed, I wasn't impressed, but that's irrelevant. He wanted to start stealing malicious site detections by various vendors and resell the data as proprietary threat intelligence, culmination of data mined by actual threat researchers. Sorry, not steal, redistribute for a fee. Anyway, I told this dude, you want this data as a report, not an email alert. If you do this as an email alert, you'll generate about 4 million emails in a day for just one of our customers, who will remain nameless. Bark bark, woof woof, reports aren't real time enough, needs to be an email alert. Cool. So to make sure I'm understanding clearly, you are saying turn it on. All of this conversation was via email, of course. You got it, boss, and I did as I was told. Later that same night, I get added to a critical call. Customer identified emails coming in to the tune of 3 million messages and wanted to know why we enabled this. The same director asked me why it was turned on, telling the customer I'm the one responsible for building the ways we detect threats. Absolutely, team. I apologize. I had attempted to have our leadership reconsider this requirement as it would adversely impact your environment to the tune of 4 million emails. Let me forward the communication to all of us on the bridge. Do you all want me to turn off this rule? Yes, absolutely. I just forwarded the email thread. Manager, it looks like you were the one who authorized and made the decision to turn it on despite the risk. And I went ahead and disabled the rule. Dude got promoted to VP, and I was no longer involved in threat monitoring, so I'm pretty sure he controlled the narrative very well. But I enjoyed my moment of listening to the customer bring legal and discuss cancellations and repercussions. I left and am now the proud owner of a cybersecurity product for biomed and facility devices. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called BadBotBot23. It says, "You're too stupid to be a manager. VP it is. Failing upwards, of course." That makes 2 stories in a row that completely drive home the point of get everything in writing or in an email, whatever works. Just make sure there's some kind of trail when somebody's asking you to do something that you know is going to blow up in their face, because then you can stand back, put your hands up and say, it wasn't me. This story comes to us from Affectionate Damage 7. Need my uniform before you will give me my last check? No problem. This is a story from my mom and my grandmother. Quite a while ago, both my mom and my grandmother worked for one of the local casinos. At the time, the casino had a 90-day trial, and then you would get insurance. During the course of them working there during the 90-day trial, the casino switched their policy to 18-month trial before getting insurance. So they then proceeded to find reasons to fire all of the employees who were coming up on the 90-day, so that they would not be grandfathered in. My mom knew this was coming because she saw person after person who had gotten hired a little bit before her get fired for ridiculous reasons. So when she got called into the office the day after she had to go to the hospital for a severe allergic reaction, she knew what was coming. They marked it as a no-call, no-show because she started having a severe allergic reaction on shift and her EpiPen didn't work. She walks into the office, she's informed that due to her no-call, no-show, she is being let go effective immediately. She asked for her final check. They informed her she would receive the check after she turned in her uniform. My mother proceeded to strip down to her underwear and bra, drop the uniform on the supervisor's desk, and demand her last check. She stood there in her underwear for 40 minutes while they tried to convince her to turn the uniform in at a later day. Nope, you said I'd get my check when I turned in my uniform. There is my uniform. I want my check. Eventually, they wrote out a check. She then walked out, taking the long route through the casino, saying her goodbye to all the staff and regulars on her way out. So a couple days later, when my grandma had her shift, she knew what to expect, because she was coming up on that same time frame. And my grandma proceeded to do the exact same thing. My grandma walked through the crowded casino in her underwear. I know where I live, there's a 3-month probation period where you can be fired for literally no reason and there's nothing you can do about it. Mom and Grandma really made the best of the situation when they dressed down the upper management. Did you know every Karma Stories video is also produced in podcast form? You can search for Karma Stories on every major podcasting platform. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.